Welcome to the College of Wealth podcast, the ultimate financial guide to help you understand your financial stresses and how you can build from it. Your lessons won't be in class, and your projects can either save you or earn you money. We host episodes 2 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays to help you reach your financial freedom. Now let's get started with your hosts, Owen, Paradis, and William Goulet.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. My name is Owen Paradis. I'm here with my co-host, William Goulet, and we're proud to present to you the College of Wealth podcast.
Podcast.
I feel like you're getting more and more enthusiastic with that, and I love it.
What?
I love it, Will.
The bigger the smile on your face, the more enthusiastic that I get. So yeah,
perfect.
Wait till episode 1000. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, exactly. So for anyone who doesn't know what the College of Wealth podcast is, this is a financial podcast that teaches you the latest and greatest information about money. Because at the end of the day, this is a crazy money-making world.
Yes, I think any way you spin it, those are both true. Money making, that's just a constant nowadays. And crazy, well, depending on the day, you can actually grab it in multiple angles and it'll remain true. So
true.
Full
also
endorsement.
True.
I agree with that statement.
Well, I'm glad you do, because this, like we were saying about the money, since it is talking about money, we do like to give it a little bit of a disclaimer that this podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only.
Yes,
we do
and
like to
I got a problem with that, actually.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
And let me explain it. I think you might agree.
Please enlighten me.
Yeah. Allow me to enlighten you. So, when we say that it's for entertainment purposes only, I find it discredits the value of the information that we do.
Okay.
Because we're not just here to entertain people.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. I think we do a little bit of both. And I think we should say that we do a little bit of both. I'm thinking, a mix between informational, entertainment, something like, I don't know, infotainment. What do you think?
I like that. That's good.
And I think it markets us exactly to what we're doing too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that quite a bit, Will.
Thanks.
You are the face of the podcast now with the infotainment. I love it.
What? You're the info.
So, with that being said there, Will and I like to call, here at the College of Wealth podcast, we like to go and call this infotainment, because both Will nor myself, we are not financial advisors here.
Certainly not me anyways, Owen. Not me.
Me either.
Oh, okay, yeah, true, I guess.
But we do have, we both have a business degrees. Like, we have a bachelor's degree in business. I work finances. Will works, I was going to say accounting, but that would come to surprise. But Will works marketing.
I do.
But
I think that speaks to a lot to our interest in the subject. It sort of makes us, as I like to say, valid. But not just in any sense, valid in the Gen Z sense, with the checkmark emoji beside. So that speaks to who we are.
Well, there we have it. We Will just speaking truth bombs right here, and we like that here at the College of Wealth podcast.
Dropping knowledge bombs.
But we also have two other reasons as to why we do this podcast. And would you like to enlighten us once again, Will, with those 2 reasons?
Yes, I won't ask us to do them together. One of the reasons is simple. We like money. We like to earn that money. So we like to make money, basically. But in some unprecedented times, you have to be careful with how you spend said money that you earned. Which is to say, we love to save money.
Money.
I pray. I'm praying from now on that this is part of the routine. Where you go, money.
I had to throw that one in there. Thought it was kind of funny there. But it is true here that we do like to go and make and save money, just like anyone else here. But without getting too much into episode 126, because Will doesn't know today's topic.
I still don't know. No.
If you haven't done so, give us a 5-star review on Apple or on Spotify. Would really help us out here. Also, go check us out on YouTube. We have visuals, surprisingly. You get to see the freaking sun beaming in my face right now. But that put aside, subscribe to us, give us a like. It really would mean a lot to us.
Yeah.
And of course, if you haven't done so, go check out our visuals that are not solely for the podcast on TikTok and on Instagram.
Absolutely.
A lot of different platforms to go and be connected with the College of Wealth podcast.
We got options.
We have options, people.
A little something for everyone.
Exactly. So now that we have this covered, we got to jump right into episode 126. And these are the biggest mistakes people do when starting their working life.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of some faux pas.
So now that you finished school, you graduated, you got your doctorate degree or your bachelor's or your master's, or you just decide to leave high school.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. These are some of the biggest mistakes people do when they decide to start working.
Wonderful. How's it laid out?
So obviously, I'm glad you asked.
Thank
The first thing we have is stats, obviously.
Statman, of course.
Of course. Our second, and then it's divided by 4 different segments like we always do. Some of the biggest mistakes that people do after they graduate. Or after they're, once they get into the working world.
Yeah.
The primary demographic that we have is young adults, primarily, who are listening to the podcast. So I think this is a good podcast episode to listen to.
Very relevant.
Relevant to a lot of people.
Agreed.
So with that being said, we got to go and talk about our first stat. And this one's going to be interesting, Will. What percentage of people aged between 25 and 33 have a quarter life crisis?
Oh my. Well, assuming that most people, their actual quarter life is past that, I'm going to say 5%. No, I'm kidding. Quarter life crisis meaning an actual more about where their position is socioeconomically.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say a shocking 60%.
Well, I'm glad you went towards that because I know you were gonna say 40, but it's not high enough. It's 75%.
Wow! Holy crap! 3 out of 4.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 people, with the average age being 27 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Which is even more shocking considering that means that these people have been working already. And
they've been exposed.
Yeah, it's not like they graduated. Oh no, what do I do now? They're working now, and they may have been working for almost up to 5 years at this point, and they're like, what am I doing with my life?
Oh my god. I have a good idea why, I'm guessing.
Okay.
They're not seeing a way up.
Oh, it's an awkward time because you have some people who are going to get promoted to senior positions, to managerial positions, just like there's some people who are stuck at that position for the next 20 years.
True. Yeah, you're right. Interesting. 75. That's flabbergasting one stat. My goodness.
That's actually according to LinkedIn. LinkedIn did a big study on this here.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Go now, LinkedIn, I guess.
They had a huge amount of stats in regards to this. They did a huge study, so this was really interesting. But the next ones, according to LinkedIn, not all of them are that, so you don't have to worry. There's a little bit of diversification.
Sure.
What percentage of the respondents have said that they actually took a career break to reevaluate what they were doing?
Oh, of that 75%?
No, just in general.
Just in general.
Yeah.
I imagine not that many. 15%.
23%.
23 took a career break. That's shocking.
I know some people who have taken career breaks as well.
Well, 1 out of 5 just seems so high.
Well, it's almost close to 1 out of 4.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's even closer to 1 out of 4 people. Wow.
If you round up, of course.
Sure,
but
sure.
but 1 out of 4. And I know some people who took career breaks and they're like, you know what, I don't like this job, and this is not how I want to define my life, and this is just not the path I want to take.
Well, I guess around that age too is when dreaming and reality have an intersection.
A crossroad. Yeah, it's true. Now, this third stat is actually really, really interesting. I had to write it down because I thought it stuck out. According to this study by YouGov America, what years or what decade is the best years of your life?
Okay. Well, everyone always looks backwards. So people are going to say their teenage years was the best time of their lives.
So you're saying between 10 and 19?
Yeah, that's what I think people will say.
And according to the study, you'd be pleasantly surprised that the best years of people's lives is the current year that they're living in.
Wow, really?
Yeah, 32% of people said that the current decade that they're living in is their best years.
Interesting.
I was very, very, very surprised.
Well, everyone's always nostalgic, it seems, like, those were the days, and this was so much better. And
yeah, and I mean, you go and ask that to a teenager. I mean, what are they basing themselves off of? They're what? I gotta go and say, oh, my childhood, not even my childhood. You still are a child as a teenager.
You ask a 9-year-old, you're like, I guess this current one, this current decade, that'll do for me.
Oh, my 60s, amazing, amazing.
Well, I guess it's nice to see that people are grateful for where they are.
Yes.
So optimistic. I like that.
I was very surprised by it, and I liked it. And last but not least, we got to talk finances here because this is a financial podcast, as we know. What is the average savings for someone at 25 years old?
I feel like we've covered this before, but I won't get it right. The average savings is $5,000.
$11,250.
Okay. Not bad.
But here's the thing. That's average. The median is around $3,200.
Oh, okay. Wow. So half of people have less than $3,200 in their savings.
Correct. Yes.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, it's like very interesting. Very
well.
Interesting.
It is because 50% have more, but I guess I'm just explaining what the median is. But it's surprising because 3,200 it doesn't fit into my comfort gap.
Oh yeah, I agree in that sense. But again, you're starting your life out, so.
Yeah. If anyone's in that position, give yourself a chance. Life will happen,
Exactly.
You have time.
Now that we have our stats covered, we got to go and speak about our first segment here. And it's the first thing that you shouldn't be doing when starting your working life out. Okay. And that's using your student loans incorrectly or not saving enough.
Okay, so not using your student loans correctly. I'm really curious what that means.
So what I mean by not using it correctly is, first of all, the first piece of information I have to say is the average debt in Canada for student loans is around $26,000,
which is probably miles better than the United States.
Yes, for sure, But imagine starting out your life with that and starting
negative balance.
That's tough. That is tough, and that's enough to pay off. Like you said, especially when you're starting out and they're there and they're like, okay, yeah, you're getting paid $40,000 a year.
Yeah,
and it's like, all right, well, I mean, there goes like 20% of my income just to go to student loans.
Yeah, honestly, interestingly enough. I was working a job that was something like $20 an hour.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, $20 an hour, 2,000 hours a year. That's $40,000 a year.
Yep.
And then I started just thinking, I'm like, well, I'd like to be a millionaire. And I was like, how long would it take me to be a millionaire? So I started doing the math real quick, and it's something like 25 years or something like that. And I'm there. I'm like, 25 years to reach $1 million. That's assuming there's no expenses or anything. And I'm like, wow. And then it made me realize the importance for me on continuing to move up.
Yes, exactly, and saving up.
So then starting from a negative point as well, that's even tougher.
Well, that's exactly it. And so so if you took on student debt or student loans, that is perfectly fine. I'm not saying that you should feel ashamed. I took student loans as well. Thankfully, I didn't have to use them. Yeah. But the thing is the second point I have to talk about this here. If you are a student currently right now, take advantage of bursaries and scholarships.
Yes,
I'm being dead serious. You do not need to be a 4.0 GPA student with a tragic backstory to get a bursary or a scholarship.
It's true. Yeah, you can be anyone.
Yeah. So I'm saying no one, but you're saying anyone. But I think we're saying the same thing here. But
here's the thing: the average person doesn't take advantage of that.
Yes,
of the bursaries.
It's true.
Which means if you do try and take advantage of it, all of a sudden, look at you. You're this outstanding person who's trying to reach out, trying to create opportunities for themselves. And people love to see that. And you stand out from the crowd just by applying.
Exactly. I think I've said this on the podcast beforehand, but I literally applied for this procurement job. Mm-hmm. Or not job, but scholarship. Bursary. And I was like, you know what? I'll apply to it. And they asked for a 200-word essay, I think it was, or 250 words. All right, whatever. I'll apply to it. And I think it took me 20 minutes to fill out an essay on why I feel like I'm interested in procurement.
Yeah.
And they told me, yeah, you got the bursary. I'm like, all right, cool. And they're like, come and pick up the check. Well, just to come and realize the check was for over $4,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So let's measure that out. 20 minutes, $4,000. Scale that up to an hour. That's $12,000 an hour.
I have yet to have made that. I am a fraction, a sliver of that right now at my current job.
Yeah. My goodness. Isn't that an inspiring goal?
Well, that's just it. So if you're a student, and by the way, for anyone who says I was an A student, my first 2 years I was borderline a B- student, FYI. So yeah, there you have it.
It's true.
My last 2 years were really strong, but my first 2 years where I got a lot of the bursaries, nothing to show off.
I mean, that's what's spectacular is. Like, imagine there's something that you want, which is money. There's not many people doing it, so you might as well try. Imagine there's this golden job at Facebook, and you hear that almost no one's applying for it. You're like, hey, I'll apply for it. The odds are on your side, so it's a smart move to do.
Exactly. Now, of course, with the student loan component, though, if you end up getting student loans and you end up, because not all bursaries and scholarships happen at the same time. Like you can get bursaries and scholarships throughout the year, but you get your student loans at the beginning of the semester and at the beginning of each semester. Mm-hmm. If you end up getting that $1,000 loan or that $1,000 bursary, don't go out and buy yourself $1,000 worth of goodies or anything like that.
Yeah. Save
that. Put it aside.
It's true.
Because at that point, you just put yourself at that same position. Like you just, unless of course you absolutely needed it because of food or something like that, which is more than reasonable. But that's exactly what
all your progress.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's one step forward, one step back. So
put that money aside. And that's exactly what happened with me with my last year of university. I'll be honest. I think I was approved for $7,000. And I was like, okay, well, I don't
approved for like loans or
a student loan. I got $7,000 in loans. Yeah. Although I had the money to finance it.
Sure.
But my family doesn't. My family isn't wealthy or anything like that there, so I was able to get it. So I kept the money on hand, and I was like, okay, cool. And then once I graduated, I literally paid off the student loan.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it kind of.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, I did a similar thing where I didn't need the money. I had saved money working when I was a kid, and I got some assistance from my family.
Yeah.
Where I didn't need that money, but I still borrowed it, and I didn't risk it. I didn't do the real estate thing that I was talking about.
Yeah.
But I just said, hey, you know what? This money, I'll put it in a high-yielding savings account.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think the going rate was like 2%. I'm like, I'll at least make 2% off of it.
For sure.
And you hold that. You have to restart paying 6 months after graduation.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 months after graduation, I held it all the way until then. Pay it back, and then there you go. It's no foul. I agreed to stuck to the agreement, but hey, 2%'s 2%.
Exactly. And that's how, that's it circles back to what we were saying in regards to not wasting that money. So you get the extra, just pay it off. The cool thing of it is, though, and it brings us to our last point, and is that you have 6 months to pay that off, interest free.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're American or Canadian, interest free.
Oh, it goes like that too for Americans. Good.
Yeah. And so you don't have to worry about that. It doesn't start the moment you graduate.
Well, similarly, it's you can pay it back as soon as you graduate.
Yeah.
Or if you get 2% for 6 months, let's just, for the sake of calculation, let's call it you make 1% off of that.
Yeah.
You're still 1% richer off of all that money that you borrowed if you are holding it. So there's an incentive for you not to pay it back immediately.
Well, that's exactly it. Don't waste it. Don't stress, but also remember that you still have to pay it back.
Yeah, and if you are starting a career straight out of school, then all of a sudden it gives you a little bit of leeway for you to start building a nest egg, and not start paying it back right away. So there's, it goes all sorts of different ways.
That's an awesome way to actually, awesome way to recapitulate this segment right here.
Recapitulate.
I think. Exactly.
I think.
Recapitulate. That your loans are there to help you, but they're not there to service you.
Yeah, exactly.
Service your wants.
Yeah, they're a tool, not a given.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our second segment is actually going to be talking about something that a lot of people do at our age.
Yeah.
And that is to invest instead of paying off the debt.
Okay, yes. That's
And I'm going to talk about that. It's going to be interesting.
I look forward to it.
Because there are certain times where I would say, you know what? Investing is the better option than it is to paying off the debt. But there are instances where I will go and say that paying off the debt is probably your priority over investing.
Okay. I'm curious under what condition you'd say.
So the first thing I have to start off, the first point is if you have little debt or you have low interest debt, the best time, and you think you could beat the return, then invest. So if your interest rates are 6%, let's say like a car payment is 6% or whatever, do you think you're able to make 6% return on that money?
Odds are low.
In this type of market, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. So maybe it's best that you put the money towards paying off that payment.
Yeah.
But if it's if it's very low, let's say 1%, 2%, do you think you can make 2% a return a year?
That sounds likely.
That sounds pretty likely. I would go and invest. Again, I'm not an advisor, just saying what I've been reading up online here. But
yeah, well, it's similar to I know people who have a mortgage and their rate is 1% to 2%, and they're like,
yes,
well, I'm doing extra payments every month to try and pay it back. But I say, I think your money would be
better
might
off.
be better off invested. It's like, yeah, but I don't like that concept. I'm like, I understand, but put your emotions aside and see where the money takes you, and that's where the logic holds. But at the same time, if the interest rates go up to a crazy 20%, then maybe he'll be the one that's laughing, saying, I paid my stuff back and I don't have to borrow all that anymore. So, who knows? We'll see who's laughing.
The second thing I got to go and add to what you're kind of like what you're saying here, it's about actually saving money.
Mm-hmm.
If you're constantly trying to, if your debt is way too high or anything of that kind, it's going to be really difficult to go and pay to start saving up.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you want to go and buy yourself a new vehicle, or you want to go and buy a house, and you have all that debt that needs to be
used vehicle,
served.
I think you meant to say.
Yes, exactly. New to you.
Yeah, exactly. New to you.
It will be very difficult to go and pay that off.
True.
Or not, to save up, I should say. Because imagine you have, especially with high interest, imagine with a credit card of that kind, and you are literally paying 20% interest. And you're making a minimum payment, but you are investing it. You're investing and you're investing, you're investing. Well, guess what's happening to your credit card bill? It's doing exactly what your investments is doing. It's compounding.
And probably at a much more significant rate than your investments are.
If I could make 20% return a year, my God, I would be investing in that right away.
Unless you're Amazon back in the 90s and you're waiting for that to go up, which the odds are very low that you found this jackpot, right? So
yep.
My goodness.
And last but not least, the last point to take into consideration with this is your credit utilization.
Okay.
And they say if you have over 25% credit utilization, then you should probably start looking at paying off your debt over, especially credit card debt of some kind.
Yep.
Over investing.
Well, 25%, that's pretty high. That means you keep a balance. Is that the threshold? I was seeing 30% before.
Yeah, 30% will work as well.
Okay. I guess it's a rule of thumb, right? So,
yeah. So we've actually said 30% on the podcast beforehand.
Okay. Well, no, it's true, because that means that you're relying on borrowing money, and if it's something that's part of your routine and you are able to keep paying it off, but you see that you're using a lot more, maybe the next time your credit card offers to increase your limit, maybe you should consider it. It's not always just a scam.
It would lower your credit utilization. That's actually what I ended up doing with my credit card. It was actually funny because my utilization was so low. I asked, they said, hey, we've noticed that you're eligible for a bump up. And I'm like, to what amount? And they're like, oh, well, up to, I think it was something like $10,000. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, do I really need $10,000? But I was like, actually, that would lower my credit limit. But I don't have $10,000, but it's what I'm eligible for.
Sure.
And it actually lowered my credit utilization. Having it too low is also a bad thing, but making use of it is really good. But having it below 25% is where I'd start to say it's really good to invest, or go and, if not, go and pay off. Yeah,
true. If you start rising but higher than that, and you don't want to raise your credit, pay it off more frequently. If you're in that position.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now that we have the investing and paying off, we have to go and jump into something we're talking about. And that's our third thing that you shouldn't be doing as a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
And that is to not start building credit or using your credit wrong.
Yes. Okay.
So
yeah.
we literally were talking about credit utilization in the last segment.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go and dig a little deeper about credit utilization. So I know at the beginning we're talking about students and stuff like that, but this is no longer about student talk. So
yeah, no, this is stuff that you should be doing in your early career.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So obviously, though, if you have a credit card or you don't have a credit card, I say go get one ASAP.
True. I think in the States you start with a secured credit card where you prepay the entire amount. Mm-hmm. If that's what you have to do, do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Get yourself started.
You got to build a report here.
Yeah.
And have a history. And that's why they say, like, if you can get one at 18, it's best to get it at 18.
Mm-hmm.
And
or in some cases, under 18.
Yeah, for you, yeah. But they say that the average debt on a credit card for Gen Z, which is usually between 18 and 24, 25 now.
Really?
I think it's 18
wow.
and 25. You
Gen
and I
Z's all
literally...
adults?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the ones that are eligible to get a credit card.
Oh, okay. There are Gen Zs under 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're not eligible. They don't have credit card debt. And at least I'd be surprised they would. But the average credit card debt for Gen Z is around $2,000.
Okay. Well, that seems manageable.
It is manageable, but it's still pretty high. Imagine being 18
Oh, yeah,
years
I guess...
old.
Yeah, for the average, if that's the average, that means some are way up.
I imagine at like 23, 24, 25, makes a little bit more sense if you're starting, but it is manageable if you have a job, but it's still enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I have credit card debt. I just pay it off every month, you know?
Yes,
so,
exactly.
So I have a net balance of 0, let's call it.
Yes. And the most important thing about credit cards is the fact that they're a tool to access your loans later on. Like we were saying, it's a report. Yes. So let's say your friend, and I mean we said maybe don't ask your friend for money, but let's say your friend is asking you for money, mm-hmm. and you lend them money, mm-hmm. and they pay you back. Mm-hmm. And then 2 months later, they ask for money again. And you're like, you know what? He's paid me off last. Yeah. And you keep doing it. And you keep doing it. And then your friend goes and asks, instead of asking for $100, they ask for $500 this time. And you're like, you know what? You've always paid me back on time. I got the money. I could service it. Here you go. Mm-hmm. Well, that's how the bank treats you when you have a credit card.
Exactly. I think you nailed it.
And when you go and take out a loan. Yeah. When you take out a loan, they look at that history.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And if you don't have a credit card and you've never taken out a loan, it'd be almost equivalent to you walking into the grocery store and asking the cashier, "Hey, would you mind lending me $500?"
Yeah, true, because you are a stranger to them.
Yeah, other than the fact that they have an account.
True.
But at the grocery store, you have the rewards program.
I guess, yeah. You know, you do have a lot of loyalty points, so the cashier just says, fine, just take it. Just take it.
Here's my till.
Yeah. Just return it at the end of the day. God.
I don't think the manager would be too impressed with the cashier.
No.
But he had so many rewards points.
Yeah. That's funny. He's our platinum member.
But it's so important to be building that history with and rapport with not just, and the cool thing is it doesn't have to do with just one company or one bank. So if you have a credit card with if you're Canadian, CIBC, and TD decides to go and pull a report, well, guess what? They see that as well.
They share information.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So it's a bonus to you that you don't have to take out a loan with the bank that you're with if you're shopping for rates.
There's this person that I follow on YouTube that's a multimillionaire but has always paid cash.
Yeah.
For everything because they made money, you know.
Yeah.
And then they go to the bank and they're like, "Can I borrow money for this?" It's like, no, you can't borrow money because you don't have any history. It doesn't matter if you're worth a lot of money. And once you're worth a lot of money, I'm sure they make exceptions, you know. But even millionaires cannot borrow money if they don't have a credit history. So it applies to everyone.
Yeah. Imagine imagine having $1 million, unless you're planning on doing collateral of some kind. It's like, hey, I'm willing to put $1 million in collateral that I have in my bank account.
Yeah, I guess.
There'd be so many things here.
A $1 million secured credit card.
Yes. And the coolest thing, the coolest thing about having a credit card is you can get some that pay you and give you money back.
Yep. Well, that's why I use a credit card today. It is because I get 1%, 2%, 3% back. Yep. Otherwise, I just use a debit card, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think that I've said that on the podcast. Like the promotion that I had for my credit card when I had it, it was 6%.
True. Yeah, you can get some amazing rates.
I just put everything on my credit card. I paid it off by the end of the month. There wasn't anything unmanageable.
Yeah.
But I had literally something like $200 cash back within 3 months.
Very nice. And that was a popular thing a few years ago, was credit card hacking. Using promotional rates. Now there's been a lot more crackdowns and making sure that things stay on the straight. But hey, you know what? Some people like trying stuff.
Yeah, and our last point to this segment, which is going to be really interesting. It's actually a stat.
Okay.
Because we were talking about credit reports and credit history.
Yeah.
The 83% of people who hold a perfect score, which is 850, are Gen Xers and baby boomers.
So people who've had time and experience.
They've had time.
Yeah.
So imagine getting your first credit card at 40 years old and how that's going to go.
You would be so far behind everyone else, all your peers.
Yes, exactly. It's going to be really tough.
Honestly. That's brutal. I'd like to add a point, Owen.
Yes.
A mistake to do during your early career, or getting out of school. I hope it's not your point. You'll stop me if it is. But it's that the impact of taking a risk can be spread out throughout many years. Which is, if you're 60 and you're retiring at 65 and you take a big risk, you got 5 years to make up for your risk. Whereas if you're 20 and you retire at 65, you got 45 years to make up for that risk. Which brings me to the quote of the day.
Okay.
Which is from Vince McMahon, the WWE owner, operator.
You warned me it was going to be a left field type of person.
That's right, and he's a quotee of the week. But he has built a very successful business. He's a showman, but he's also a very successful businessman. He says, "I'm not afraid of failing. I don't like to fail. I hate to fail, but I'm not afraid of it." And a lot of his success is attributable to that.
He's taken some wild shots that have worked.
Absolutely,
dividends. I'm literally gonna go for our next post. I'm gonna go and use Vince McMahon, and I'll use the photo of him like.
Yeah. That'd be so funny. And just a very inspirational quote by his photo.
Yeah, beside that photo.
So he's an entertaining guy, but he's also a very, very successul businessman.
Yes. Wild guy, but also very intelligent.
That's right. So that's the quote of the day.
I like it. And actually, it works out well with kind of sort of quote that I've seen many times before. And it was fail early, fail often, and fail fast.
Oh, yeah. Especially that failing fast. When it comes to failing fast is...
Don't sulk on it. Don't let it hold you down or anything from other ideas. Yep. Like, move on. And you're young, so you don't have anything holding you down.
It's true.
Last but not least, we have our final segment. This one's going to be a nice, quick little one, and I think it's also insanely important. Doesn't matter how old you are, but people don't use all of them. But the fourth segment is about using all your financial tools that are available to you.
True.
Many people fail to use that.
Well, I just gave an example of someone who didn't borrow money.
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
have that's a mistake.
It is. There are tools out there to help you. The first thing I have to talk about is actually one thing that I was surprised, but you can refinance your student loans.
Whoa.
Yes, you're able to refinance your student loans if you want.
Really?
Yes, you can go and refinance them. Of course, I would not suggest to go and do that right now, but you can go and refinance them.
So you go to a bank, you say, "Look, I borrowed this much money. Can you lend me money at a lesser interest rate?"
I can't tell you the process behind it.
Well, it's worth looking into. It's a tool at your disposal.
Yes,
it's like you
exactly.
Yeah.
That is an opportunity that I've discovered. Like I said, right now is probably not the best time because the interest rate that you had prior probably was a little bit less than what it is now.
Yeah, sure.
Our second component that a lot of people don't realize is that soft pulling, when they do a soft credit score pull, does not affect your credit card or your credit score.
Yeah.
Hard pulls
Inquiries.
do. Yeah, hard inquiries do.
Yeah.
And you can use systems like Credit Karma or Equifax to use that kind of stuff. And checking your your credit score is not going to affect it.
True.
Usually a hard inquiry would be like when you're applying for a loan, and then they go and look at the nitty-gritty of all your payments and everything.
And the reason for that is if you're applying at all sorts of places for money, they're saying, all right, this guy's scavenging for money. He's looking everywhere, which puts you more at risk. You know, it makes sense. But if someone's just curious, they're never going to say, oh, this guy's looking at his account. What's going on? No, you're just checking, you know.
Look at this idiot who looks at his bank account.
He keeps his finances in check.
What an idiot. But you are right about that, though, that the banks won't ever judge you for looking at your credit score and keeping all your ducks in a row with that.
Yeah, they won't penalize you. They might judge you, but at least they won't remove points from you.
No, exactly. Our third point to this here actually has to do about kind of sort of like we're talking about. Although we were looking at credit scores, you can also track and classify your expenses. There are so many apps available that are totally free to use. I know TD has them. I know that Tangerine has it. Intuit. There's so many different things. Mint that can do just classify. It's not if it's not classified the right way, you can literally go and classify it yourself.
My first 10 episodes on this podcast was basically promoting Mint for free.
We should have a freaking sponsorship with them. My God.
Yeah, and retroactive too.
Yeah. So it's also really important to take advantage of those free apps. You don't have to go on Excel if you don't want to. Of course, it's not going to be as descriptive as if you decide to go and see line by line, but you have a general idea of how much you spent this month.
Yep.
And last but not least, if you are actually interested in investing, go in and use auto traders.
Yes.
Auto
traders.
Investors, I should say.
Robo investor, auto investor, that kind of stuff. You know, it's something that sets a rule.
Yes.
And that you can't break it. Well, you can, but you have to mean it.
Exactly. And you'll be able to go and stay between your risk tolerance. There's no emotions involved because it's a robot that's trading for you. And you're able to go and not have to worry about it. It's worry-free.
Yep, exactly. Well, worry-free in the sense that you have to actively manage it.
Correct.
Your money's still variable and subject to the market, right?
Yeah, it sucks when it goes down. It sucks when your portfolio is down and stuff like that. But it's not going to sell it for you. And there's precautions that they'll do. They'll reevaluate your portfolio and they'll move things around. They'll say, okay, well, this isn't going to work, so let's move That's what they do. They don't go and day trade to try and make a quick buck. But it's a safer bet.
Making money's their business, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah, I agree. That's a great tool to use.
Yes. So with that being said, everyone, that is episode... Well, I was going to say 43. My Lord. Episode 126. How did I screw up with 43?
I think it's how long we've been recording just a second ago.
Okay. That could be it there. But this is definitely episode 126.
Yeah.
Biggest mistakes you could be making when starting your working life.
Right on. Hey, you know what? Very, very informational as well. So
I agree. It was awesome. Of course, this is the financial side of this. This isn't actually the working side of it there, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, that could make another episode.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that being said, everyone, thank you once again for listening to the College of Wealth podcast. Peace.
2 figures peace.
This has been your daily dose of motivation with the College of Wealth podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for listening, and until next episode.